Hope you're having an amazing day. It is marvelous, magnificent Monday. Hopefully, you're feeling that way about Mondays. I used to dread Mondays back when I was going to my cubicle job with my white shirt and tie. I remember Sunday night would come along and I was just not excited about leaving my family for the next day. But these days, as an entrepreneur, I kind of love Mondays. I love getting back to work, getting back to the vision, getting back to getting stuff done, getting back to checking the tasks off the list. So hopefully you're feeling that way as well. Monday's a great restart day, restart with new power that you gathered up over the weekend, hopefully as you were resting and recuperating. So this is episode 134 of The Good Parts. The Good Parts is a daily social media show where I go live once a day, Monday through Friday, to share one good part from my life and or business in an effort to deliver value. That's the goal. What is value? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I kind of have an idea. Value is just something that you can deliver to people that they find to be beneficial. So that's my target every day. I don't always hit the mark, but I think the important thing is that we're striving, and giving it a shot every day. So in today's Good Parts episode, I want to share with you a quick little story from my life that I think is beneficial, can be beneficial to you. It's beneficial to me for sure. A little story that happened over the weekend with one of my sons, and it has some entrepreneurial lessons in it. It's got some parental lessons in it. So if you're an entrepreneur or you're a parent, you might want to tune in. Maybe you'll get some value from today's episode. If you are tuning in live, I would love to encourage you to follow Nick Romani's example and say, hello, my brother, West Virginia in the house. Yeehaw! Just kidding. You don't have to say everything Nick did. Nick said, hey, Nick, good to see you. But if you'd say hello, I would appreciate it. I love connecting with people. I love learning from people. And I love engaging with you guys. So Bill Fever says, good morning. I like Mondays. I like the start of a new week. Awesome. Well, we are two birds of a feather, and apparently we're flocking together here on the live today. Jeff Topper says, Topper viewing from my perch high up in the Ozark Mountains in Missouri. I bet you have a beautiful view there, Jeff, near Branson. I remember going to Branson. It was so pretty there. I remember being just like in awe as I was driving and beholding the stunning views of nature in Branson. If you haven't been to Branson, I highly recommend putting that on your, to visit list. Bryce Tomlin says, howdy, hoo. Good to see you, Bryce. Martin King says, hey, straw, Martin, back to you. Just kidding. That's a little Idaho joke. We got hay and we got straw here in Idaho. So good to see you. All right. So the story, as I wrote in the description, there is a task that I've been dreading, for weeks up to doing this task. And I'll just tell you what the task is. So we are blessed and fortunate to have some rental properties. And we also have our home residence. And in Idaho, it gets cold in the wintertime and the snow falls and the temperature drops. And if you don't clear the water out of your sprinkler lines, what'll happen is the water will freeze, expand, and your sprinkler lines will break. And so this task was getting these sprinkler lines cleared out. And, it's not just my house, but we have a number of homes to go do this for. And I've been dreading this. In the past, I hired people to do this, but for some strange reason, I decided, maybe this will be a good teaching opportunity for my kids. Let's go do this together. We'll save some money and have some fun. And it's not always as easy to inspire kids to go learn and get the job done as you might like. And so the last couple of years, good old dad has been stuck by himself doing this job. And sometimes when I go to do this job, if I don't have the right tool, then what ends up happening is I have to go on like a 3-hour treasure hunt at my house to find the right tool. Why is that? Because my kids like to use my tools, and I don't know what they do with my tools. Do they eat them? I don't know. Do they bury them? I don't know. But whenever I go to find a tool, oftentimes it's just this aggravating process of having to stop the job and then take 2 or 3 hours like searching here, there, and everywhere to find the tools. So anyway, I guess for these reasons of my last couple experiences, I was dreading doing this. And we're planning an event right now. So there's a lot of things that still need to be done for the event. So it was just like weighing on my mind. And every time I thought about it, I was just like, I don't want to do that. And I like put it, and then it would like make me feel not like happy and excited, oh, I got to go do this, winterize these sprinklers. Well, anyway, Saturday morning, I woke up and I thought, let's just get this job out of the way, clear it off my brain so I can move on to these other things. It's the weekend, good time to get this done. Next week, when I get back to work, I'll be able to focus 100% on business because this albatross has been lifted from my mind. So I gathered my kids around. I said, hey, boys, everyone, we're going to go winterize the sprinklers together. And sure enough, what? No, I got to go to this. I got to go to that. Like all this complaining. But I had I have one son. His name is Kyson. And Kyson said, I'll come help you, Dad, if you pay me, is what he said. And I'm okay paying my kids, right? So I said, all right, thank you, Kyson. I appreciate it. So let's go get this job done. So Kyson and I gather up the air compressor and the tools, and we load up the truck. And so we're driving to the first job, with our tools in the back. And on the way there, I asked Kyson, I said, Kyson, do you know why it is that you are the way you are? He's like, I don't know. And I said, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about, son? And he's just like, I don't know. And I said, like you're a kid that is always, you're so helpful. Like, when I asked all my other kids who's wanted to come help, I heard complaints. You were the only one out of all 4 of my kids who said, I will go help, Dad. And this isn't the only example of Kyson doing things like this. Like he's always working on projects. He's always got goals. He's always learning things. He's always just, so helpful. Not always. He is a kid. So, hey, clean your room. There's a little bit of that. But for the most part, this kid is a kid that seems to have been born with initiative and leadership. Like he's just always wanting to help. And so I highlighted these things, and he smiles, as I'm talking about him, because he knows it's true. He's his basketball coach recently said to my wife, she said, I love Kyson so much. He's like, he's all over the court. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. He's always helping. He's like, if one of the other kids doesn't know what's going on, I can always say, Kyson, would you explain it? And Kyson always can explain it because he's just that kind of kid. So I had that opportunity as a parent to kind of highlight these things, and try to reinforce belief in my son of these positive attributes. So that was the first piece of gold. And we hadn't even gotten out of our driveway. So this job that I'd been dreading and didn't want to do, I'm squaring up and I'm doing it. And right off the bat, I'm thankful that I had this opportunity to talk to my son and kind of lift him up. So anyway, we drive to the first job, and on the way there, I start to talk to him like, I'm like, hey, winterizing sprinklers would be a great little business. And here's why, because a lot of the companies that winterize sprinklers, they're full service landscape companies. So they've got all this equipment, they've got these trucks, they've got all kinds of jobs to do. They've got employees, they've got overhead. So when it comes to winterizing sprinklers, they have to charge a price that's high enough to like cover all of that. And that's usually why, at least in my local area, winterizing sprinklers, when you hear the price tag, you're like, God, I don't know, that seems like a lot for a job that sometimes only takes 10 minutes, upwards of $100 or whatever. And so I said, if you wanted to start a business like this, you can get yourself an air compressor. You wouldn't have to have that many tools, a car to drive you around. And you could probably charge less than these big, full service landscaping companies. And my guess is you would find a lot of customers, because I know from being a property owner, I don't want to do that. I would rather pay someone to do it. If I could find someone that was a good enough price and I knew would get the job done. And so he's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It's like, how much could I charge, Dad? So he's kind of like thinking about this. And so we get to the first job and we get the stuff out, and he's just so helpful. He grabs the stuff, he goes and plugs it in. I lift up the panel on the skirting around one of the properties, and he climbs in there with the air compressor. He's like, all right. And so I start to show him like, okay, first we have to shut the water off. I said, there's 2 steps, shut the water off and then blow the line out. And so, he's got to learn how to shut the water off for each line that we do. But he crawls under there, he puts the air on, he starts it, and I'm walking around and, looking to see that the water's all out of the sprinklers. And he's like, are we done, Dad? Are we done? I said, not yet, not yet. Okay, shut it off. And then he shuts it off. Then we move on to the next one. Well, we get that first job done probably in like 15 or 20 minutes. And on the way over there, I had told Kyson, you could probably charge, 40, $50. That would be a good price, like lower than everyone else. And so when he gets out, I say, how would that be? 40, $50 for that little job? Would that be worth it? He's like, yeah, that'd be worth it. And so we walk over to the next property, same thing, get it done in like 10 or 20 minutes. He walks out. How would that be? 40, $50. I mean, you just made $100. 2 jobs like that, that's $100 a day. Only takes you an hour of your time. And he's kind of got this glimmer in his eye, this entrepreneurial fire, like he's kind of seeing the potential, And so that we finished the first 2 jobs, then we go do the last one, and he's helping me, and it's a little bit different of a setup. So he's helping me find the right tool, which thankfully we didn't have to search all over, hell and damnation to find find the tool. We found it quickly, went back, got the job done, came back to my house, winterized my house, and so he gets out, and I'm like, man, Kyson, I was like, I'm so thankful that you helped me. That made this process that I was dreading so much easier. And it really did. Having 2 people to do that just lightened my burden so much. And that was just a little lesson in and of itself, is that, if people can work together to get things done, oftentimes the big job that we think is a big job turns out to not be such a big job. We got all of the sprinklers done, and I think probably 2 hours or less. And so the experience was great. But as I'm continuing to talk to my son, Kyson, I say, now imagine, you charge 40, $50 for all of these properties, you just made $200. Would that be a good deal? And he's like, yeah. And I said, profits are better than wages, son. Do you know who said that? And Kyson said, Jim Rohn. I said, whoa, how did you know that? And he says, well, one time when we were mowing lawns, we had this conversation and we talked about it. And I was so proud that he'd remembered that profits are better than wages. And so we talked about that and what that meant. And it was just such a great experience to spend time with my son and work on a job that I thought was going to be terrible, and it was stressing me out and I didn't want to do it. But it turned out to be this golden couple hours of my life as a parent with my young son, being able to talk to him and inspire him and encourage him. And thinking back on it, like the one thing that comes to mind is oftentimes we make things so much bigger than they actually are. Like this little job I had allowed to like stress me out, and it really shouldn't have stressed me out because it turned out to be a great thing. So that's like another little lesson that I was thinking about going through this experience. But then also just the moments that we had together, so worth it, so worth getting that done. And then Kyson, he's like, well, Dad, wouldn't today be a good time to place an ad to see if we can find some more, sprinkler jobs? And I said, well, I don't know if I want to drive you around for your business all over. Maybe we'll wait till you get your driver's license. But he's kind of already, moving in that direction. And I said, Kyson, I think you're probably going to be an entrepreneur when you grow up. Do you know what that is? And he's like, a person who starts businesses. I said, yeah, really, you can do anything you set your mind to. But I think that's an avenue that's open to you if it's something that you want to engage in. And then the last thing that comes to mind before I close out, as we were talking about like what price he should charge, and I mentioned, $40, $50. I said, because the other people are charging like upwards of 100, and if you charged half price to get the job done, I said, son, that's what you call an irresistible offer. I said, do you know what that is? And he's like, it's something that like people can't resist. I'm like, yeah, it's something where when you show people, they're like, take my money, please. It's like a no-brainer. And so when we do go to place your ad, if you can show that you'll do it for half price, what you can do is you can start to gather some customers. And then over time, you can raise your prices a little bit, but still keeping them under the prices of the other competitors. And all through this time, you can be building relationships with your customers. So they like you, they trust you, they want you to continue, doing the job, and you can grow your customer base. And he says, well, what if I have jobs that like I need all these specialized tools for? And I said, well, you don't have to take those jobs. If you want, you can cherry pick and find the jobs like the first couple that only took 10 or 20 minutes, and you can do that. And he's like, yeah, I can do that. I can choose. Right. So, anyway, this is my message. I wanted to pass it along. Hopefully, there was some value in there. The irresistible offer ideas is a good one to think about. And I sometimes I see in online marketing a lot of people, in my opinion, way overcomplicating the irresistible offer thing. Couple of weeks ago, I took one of my friends to an eye place that I go to. It's called America's Best. And they have this thing where you can get an eye exam and 2 pairs of glasses for $79. And my friend Brandon was there with me, and he's like, whoa, you can get 2 pairs of glasses and an exam for $79. I'm like, yeah, that's what you call an irresistible offer. Like they didn't have to stack on like 50 million bonuses. It was just they had something that was so good, the price and the value, that it's like irresistible. It draws you in. So that's something also to think about if you're in business, is how can you in a simple way make what you're offering just really irresistible, so that when people see it, they're like, oh my gosh, this makes total sense. In my company, we have, I build a direct sales business. And so we have online marketing products, lead generation products, traffic and conversion training products, which meet a need. Anyone out there in the world that has a business usually likes the idea of being able to attract more leads and customers and convert more of those customers and leads into sales. So that in and of itself is sort of irresistible. But we also have an affiliate program where we pay 80% commission. So if people like what they find with us, which most people do, thankfully, and they want to share it with others, they can earn 80% commission for every referral they make. And that makes it so their actual products, they can be almost free with just 1 referral, and then in positive profit, positive passive cash flow with just 2 referrals. And in the home business space, which has been my domain for the last couple of decades, that's pretty irresistible. I've heard, some companies come along and they say 3 and you're free. That means you refer 3 and now your products are free, but you're still not in profit. Ours is 2 and you're in profit. So those are just a couple little details about the way we've structured our company. When I think about them, I'm like, that feels pretty irresistible to me, to be able to grow a residual income of $500-$600 a month with 4 or 5 customer referrals, $3,000 a month with just 30 customer referrals. That feels pretty enticing to me. So yeah, irresistible offer, a good thing to think about. So anyway, that's my message. I'm going to close out. If you're fine, and I'm going to get to the comments first, but I also do want to give you a shameless plug. I do these lives every day, Monday through Friday. So if you got value from today's message, I would love to encourage you to subscribe to me on social media, wherever you're finding this video at. And also, if you want to make sure that you'll get all of my content in the future, I would love to encourage you to visit my website, myfreedomfamily.com, subscribe to my email list on that page, and you'll be able to take a look at the business model that I was kind of referencing earlier on in the live, where if you like what you see, you can grow a residual income that can help ease up the financial stress, maybe even help you get out of debt, eliminate debt faster, maybe even help you grow an income that's big enough that you can say goodbye to some things in your life that you don't love. That's the way it was for me anyway. Used to work in a cubicle, didn't love it, didn't love the corporate politics. I wanted out. And so through being able to build a residual income, I've been able to create a business and a lifestyle that I can grow from anywhere in the world, from my home, while I'm traveling. I just really, really love this business model that we have. So you can take a look at that, myfreedomfamily.com, if that's of interest to you. So with that, I'm going to check into the comments here. Kevin Coe says, howdy, Paul. Howdy to you, Kevin. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Danny says, yo, Danny. Good to see you. Gio says, tools are important to build a foundation. For sure they are. Nick says, LOL, Paul, my son does the same thing. He borrows my tools and tells me he doesn't. Then I happen to look in his car and lo, behold, there they sit. That happens so many times in my family too, Nick. So many times. Thanks for sharing that. Bill says, when I grew up, my dad always said, come on. And we would always go out to do the chores on the ranch, shoveling for irrigation, pruning vines, spraying weeds, etc. The time working with my dad is what I cherish the most in my old age. My brother and I love those times with our dad. Thank you so much for sharing that, Bill. I see that commonality expressed from various different people. And I think that's a reminder for anyone who's a parent out there that as hard as it is to sometimes get your kids to go work, think about this. If you'll just get your kids to go work, odds are those kids like Bill, when they get older, will treasure those moments that you made them do something they didn't want to do. So Will says, good morning. Good morning to you, Will. Nick says, busy mind is good. Helps them come up with innovative ideas for when they go out on their own. It will apply to their own home. I agree. Janine Hanner says, hey, Janine, back to you. Thanks for saying hello. Nick says, paint that entrepreneurial picture in their mind. Plant the seed of freedom. Yes. Lisa gives me some hearts. Thank you. Hearts back to you. I stole that from my friend, Christy Hall. So thanks, Christy. Janine says, I remember getting ready for winter in Nebraska. Yes, a necessary thing. Janine says, I did the same with pet sitting. I started out low and then slowly raised my price. I love it. So it worked. It worked even in pet sitting. Thanks for sharing that. Bryce Tomlinson says, when I taught a film class, now I know why you're so good at video, Bryce. You taught a film class. That's so good to know. I'm like, where did this guy get all of his knowledge? The kids would look at my cameras and think I can't afford that. But I asked them how many of them had mown a lawn. How many lawns could you mow in a day? How many days could you do that in a week? How much would you ask for mowing the lawn? In 3 months, you have a high-end camera. Yeah, I love that. Love that you passed that lesson along. It reminds me of a great lesson from the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where Robert Kiyosaki talks about how most people say, I can't afford that. And he said, a better thing to say is, how can I afford that? Because and that worked. It worked for me, still works for me. How can I afford that? That opens up your mind. It opens up the possibilities. How can I afford that? So thank you for that, Bryce. Gio says, it's amazing you are teaching your kids with right knowledge. My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge because you have rejected knowledge. I also reject you. Hosea 4:6. Wow, thank you for that. I love that scripture reference. Appreciate that, Gio. Bryce says, I learned about winterizing living in a fifth wheel in the high desert. Ooh, dang. Thankfully, my wife winterizes our camp trailer. So thank you, honey. I'm so thankful I don't have to do that. And she told me the other day, she's like, I think I'm the only wife that I know that does this. But I said, I'm so thankful. Just one less thing for me to have to worry about. Bryce says 2 of those kids went on to be pro cinematographers. How cool is that? And in large part because of the seeds that you planted, Bryce. So well done. What a great mentor. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I'm going to close out. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks for all of the interactions in the comments. Get out there, take action, go for your dreams. Make it a great day. And I'll be back tomorrow in the next episode of The Good Parts. Take care and bye for now.